from TheJollyFatElf. Thank you so much for joining me today in another video in my 2021 holiday card series. So as you know, I've been doing a very beginner-friendly series on ways that you can create cards without having to invest a lot of money and just using your paper cutter and some adhesive. Today, we're going to step it up a couple of notches. Number one, I'm going to share with you how I mass produce cards. And number two, I'm going to be using one die. So you can completely skip that part if you don't own any. It's completely up to you. So let's head over to the craft table and I'm going to walk you through 6 cards. We're mass producing 6 cards. All right, friends, so we are going to be using the Christmas Magic paper pad from Echo Park along with the chipboard elements, and I am going to be using this oval die. I believe this is the scalloped oval frame die from MFT. Any oval frame will work, and I am going to be cutting out 6 different ovals. So we're making 6 cards today. I would encourage you to do in doubles, like multiples of 2. That way, because you get you get 2 cards from one sheet of cardstock. Brain. So I am just adhering these together with some washi tape, and then so I can cut out 2 at a time. So once I get all 6 cut out, then I'm going to bring in the chipboard elements. Now the chipboard elements are not adhesive backed. So you are going to have to adhere them down with adhesive. Let me rephrase that. These are not adhesive backed. I thought they were chipboard stickers, but they're not. They're just chipboard elements. So I bring in the ones that I want for these 6 cards, and there are plenty more. I could have probably made 14 or 16 cards with just this set of chipboard. Maybe not quite that many, Misty, but enough. So once I kind of get them laid out the way that I want them, I took a picture so I didn't forget, because I have no memory, and I thought I'm going to move these around, because initially I thought that I was going to go ahead and move everything to the side, but I decided to go ahead and adhere them onto the ovals before I moved on. So I ended up just using tape runner, but you could also get away with using liquid glue, Tombow Mono liquid glue. That would work as well. And so I'm just going to go ahead and get these adhered, place where I want them, and then I'm going to put them off to the side. For the gingerbread house and the man, I am popping up the 2 gingerbread on one side, and then the side that's touching the house, I'm going to go ahead and add tape runner. Brain. So once I do that, then I'm going to go ahead and finish, figure out my card layers. I wanted to bring in this gingerbread paper. So this is from last year. I think this is called Gingerbread Christmas, Gingerbread something from Echo Park. And I figured out my layout and how I wanted it, and then I figured out the size of everything. And once I've done that, then I've gone through and I've picked out all of my patterns, and I'm going to be doing all of the cutting at the same time. So when you're mass producing, you want to do one thing at a time. So I did all my die cutting at one time. I did all my adhering at one time. Now I'm doing all the cutting at one time. That's what makes it the easiest. You figure out how many cards you need, then you figure out your measurements, and then you go from there. So this is actually way more layers than I normally would put on a mass-produced card, but since the images are so simple, I knew that I wanted the paper to really stand out. I knew that I wanted the papers to be mostly red, but to also bring in some of the black. So I'm cutting down all of the card, the base card layers to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, so it takes up most of the card, right? No, 4 by 5 1/4. I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. So again, you'll just have to play around with it. And the one thing about this layout is when you cut it at 4, it gives you a sheet that's 2 inches. So one of these layers ends up being 2 inches, and it just works out perfectly. And I'm sorry that you can't see more of this, but I have to be able to see it. So I am using it where it's closer to my face. So I am bringing in some green as well, because I am going to go ahead and use green for my card bases. I believe the color I end up using is it jalapeno from my NFT? Is it jalapeno? I think it's jalapeno. Any green will do. Any green will do, yes. So here I am bringing in a paper from another paper pad just so I have enough to fit all of them together. So they don't have to be exact because it's not like all 6 are going to the same recipient unless you're selling them as a set. But I like to make them as close as possible because that's the whole point of mass producing. So here is a look at the layers all together. So you can see kind of my thought process. So there is a red and a white, then we go in with green, and then we go in with black. And then we're going to go in with another white kind of layer. So here is where I am cutting down the second layer. This is the next to the last layer, next to the top layer. And we're going to get all of it adhered. And this is the layout. Pretty simple, but I think it's really, like, again, you're really showcasing the paper. And you're giving it an opportunity to shine, because a lot of times the image is more the focus, but this time the focus is for both. Okay, so I have slowed this down to real time. So my card bases are going to be 5 1/8 by, no, they're not, 8 1/2 by 5 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. So in order to do this, I score them first at 4 1/4, and then I'm cutting them at 5 1/2. And the reason why I'm doing that is that way I'm scoring once and cutting once. If I were to cut them first, I would then have to go and score each of them on their, like each of them. So this just makes it a little bit easier. So you can see me here, I've slowed it down real slow, or this is actually normal speed for me, but I scored it at 4 1/4, and then I'm cutting it at 5 1/2. And that way I get 2 card bases that are scored and ready to go. And now we can just adhere. And I have this sped up quite a bit because, again, I'm just adhering paper down. But you can see how the layers are working. So we're doing a black layer, then a red and white layer. Oh, and I messed up. It wouldn't be a mistake card if there wasn't a mistake. And then I'm just getting them all adhered together. And I just really like how this turned out. Some of my measurements turned out to be a little bit wrong or a little bit wonky. So that was annoying, but it is what it is sometimes. Sometimes you think you're cutting straight, sometimes you're not. And none of these layers are going to be popped up because I'm popping up the ovals. You also have to take into account that the chipboard elements are also popped up basically. So it's already going to have a little bit more height than it normally would. So all of these layers are going to be flat onto the card panels and then onto the card bases. And this is me adhering them and getting them down. And again, it goes super, super easy and quick once you do that. So I cut out I adhered in the white card layers for the inside because this green is a little bit darker. I mean, you could technically get away with just writing on the inside with a ballpoint pen, but I really like having the white layer on the inside. I just think it freshens it up a little bit and gives you plenty of space to write your messages. So again, like I said, I am adhering the ovals up with foam tape, and then I actually finally ran out of foam tape after 2 years, I think, maybe even 3 years. And unfortunately, the one I bought as a replacement was not the right one, so I have to reorder it from Amazon, which is annoying, but it is what it is. And once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and get these adhered kind of in the middle, and then I'm going to bring in some glitter enamel dots to go on the top right corner and the bottom left corner. And that's going to be it for these cards. So I didn't add any shimmer because of the slickness of the chipboard. So it may stay. Maybe it would stay. I don't know, but I just skipped it. So here's a look at all 6 of them. And the gingerbread one is really the only one that came from a different paper pad. And that's just because I knew I had gingerbread paper. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate you. If you have any other questions about mass producing, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.